Just one word can be key for understanding an entire paragraph. We saw that by delving into the meaning of the words bo and avlech, and we have that in our parsha too. Bnei Israel built the golden calf and started to worship it. God then expresses his displeasure to Moshe with his desire to destroy the nation and start afresh with just Moshe. Moshe, however, comes to Israel's defense. The paragraph of Moshe's rebuttal to God starts off with the phrase Vaychal Moshe. What does this phrase mean, and how does it contribute to the overall understanding of the paragraph? Some later Mefarshim, such as Ibn Ezra and Rav Hirsch, note that the word is similar to the phrase used in many piyutim, Achale Panav, meaning beseeching God to reduce his divine anger. As such, the paragraph is telegraphing that Moshe is preparing himself to beseech God to reduce his divine anger against Israel for their betrayal. As an aside, it would make sense to say that the source of the phrase Achale Panav is from this phrase of Vaychal Moshe, and that its usage in the piyut reflects its interpretation of the source rather than vice versa. Onkelos and many of the early Mefarshim understand that the phrase means more than just pleading Israel's case. It means that Moshe earnestly prayed. How do we get that Moshe prayed from the word Vaychal? There are two possible routes. One possibility is that it is related to Choli, that Moshe made himself sick. He literally made himself sick praying for Israel. Another possibility is that the root is related to Lahatchil, to start. Putting these two ideas together, the paragraph is saying that Moshe girded himself up to pray the prayer of his lifetime for however long it would take to fully avert the decree against Israel, even if it took 40 days and 40 nights. Other Mefarshim, such as Targum Yonatan, associate the phrase with the word lehitchalchel, which would mean greatly quaking and trembling in horror. We see this word used by Esther when she greatly shook because of the decree of Achashverosh and Haman and Mordechai's reaction. Taking this understanding, Moshe was approaching God in absolute trepidation. Who was he to approach and reproach God for what he wanted to do to Israel? It would take a lot of chutzpah to do that, and we can very much appreciate Moshe's utter terror to even attempt it. Or maybe we can say that the word comes from lechalel, meaning to desecrate. Moshe purposely desecrated God's name to show how absurd it would be to destroy Israel for their sin. Moshe was acting courageously by demonstrating to God that in destroying Israel for their sin, he would actually be the one desecrating his own great name. The Gemara in Megillah, Daf Tedvav Amud Bet, asks, what were Queen Esther's thoughts when she approached Achashverosh to beseech him upon behalf of the Jews? The Gemara lists a litany of various possibilities as to what she was thinking, as suggested by different Tanaim and Amoraim. The Gemara then relates that Rabbi Bar Avuha encountered Eliyahu Hanavi and asked him if he knew which of the possibilities proposed were actually correct. Eliyahu answered, all of them. Maybe here too, Moshe had all the different possibilities in mind when he went to confront God. His mission was to beseech God to assuage his divine anger. Moshe might have been absolutely terrified, but he must overcome his fear and be able to approach God if he had any chance to save the nation from destruction. His methodology would be intense prayer, and for however long it would take. And his main argument would be that it would be a desecration of God's own holy name and counterproductive if he would actually follow through and destroy Israel. And maybe that's the reason why the Torah uses the phrase Vaychal Moshe, to allow for the ambiguity so that it could be all-inclusive and let Moshe become the leader that he could be. Shabbat Shalom.